Revelation 486. From the 27th of June 1938. The will to serve. Awakening of the inner life. The will. The true joy of life is always only the will to serve, because if the Godhead demands of you that you subordinate your will to Him, then He gives you thereby an activity which makes you happy beyond all measure. Because it gives the earthly child the most intimate joy to place itself in the service of the Lord, to renounce all earthly pleasures for His sake and to be able to absorb the teachings of heaven. And so will the will to serve be given to the earthly child in abundance, because he who serves God is far above everything that rules on earth. The Lord gives His instruction to all creatures, and each one carries out the will of the Lord, but unconsciously, through the activity that is set for it as the task of life. But the human being is not forced to fulfill his earthly task. It is completely left to him to create his life freely and to choose the way to God in the midst of this life or not. Whether he wants to serve or does not acknowledge God and only thinks of himself as shaping destiny, but denies an eternal judge. The slightest question of thought in goodwill about the truth will help you on the path of knowledge, because the Lord gives the right pointers to all seekers. But it is difficult for those who are completely without faith, who stifle every stirring of their heart for spiritual knowledge, who only see the world and its joys or sorrows and who can never separate their thoughts from the purely earthly. Where there is still a spark in them who longs for truth, where still a thought is able to swing up into spiritual regions, the man will not be left alone, and his spirit takes up the ray of light, which shines for him into the darkness of the night. Then a quiet understanding begins in him for everything that has been given to him so far. He sees his life pass by as a mirror image, and then thoughts awaken in him that go far away from his actual views. He examines and weighs and compares. And he finds many a true word from the teachings of Christ, which only now becomes understandable to him. The soul now treads a new path. But as all seekers are plagued by doubts, so also in the beginning a spiritually directed thought will be rejected again and again, until it nevertheless asserts itself and is now firmly received in the heart, and thus the inner life of man has awakened to lively activity. Many a step has to be taken over and over again. But such a striving earthly child will be supported once it has turned of its own will to question of the supernatural. But the one who rejects everything spiritual cannot be helped so easily, because otherwise the free will would be inactivated and therefore a promotion of the soul cannot be achieved. The constant feeling and searching for spiritual truth will also make an earthly child receptive for every spiritual power coming towards him. Where man desires that light should come to him, there the spark is already ignited. It is only a small flame, but it again stimulates to more diligent research, and the power of the dark force is broken. Every human being only needs to have taken the first step of his own free will, to raise his thoughts into infinity with the desire to come closer to the truth. Then he has broken the spell which kept him bound to earth until then, and from now on his spirit swings into bright heights. You earthly children only need to want. Everything else comes so naturally to you through God's love and grace that you only need to always obey the fine impulses of the heart, which guides you so surely and points you to the eternal Godhead. And if you serve Him, you will receive, and that in the same measure as you are willing to serve. For God promises all who serve Him, that they shall reign forever and ever. Amen.